I tried everything. I cried, I begged, I even attempted to seduce him, which, let me tell you, has never failed before. But nothing seemed to work. Hi, I'm Amanda, and let me share a story about this guy I'm dating, Mitch. We've been seeing each other for a few months, and honestly, he's something else. Every time we're together, I get butterflies in my stomach. It's like being a teenager again, but without the awkwardness and bad fashion choices. Mitch is nothing like the other men I've dated. He has this quiet confidence that draws people to him. When he enters a room, everyone notices. And when he looks at me with those deep brown eyes, it feels like the rest of the world disappears. I often find myself daydreaming about him at work, replaying our last date instead of focusing on spreadsheets. We've done so many fun things together: dinners, movies, even a disastrous attempt at rock climbing. It was a total fail, but we laughed so much it didn't matter. The other day, we had a picnic in the park, lying on a blanket and watching the clouds drift by. That's when it hit me. I wanted more. I wanted to be his official girlfriend. I decided to take the leap while we were sharing a plate of tiramisu at a cozy Italian restaurant. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. "Mitch," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, "I really like you. Would you want to be exclusive?" For a second, his face was unreadable, and my stomach sank. But then he smiled, and I could breathe again. "I'd like that, Amanda," he said, but then his expression grew serious. "There are a few boundaries we need to discuss." I nodded, got off guard, but willing to listen. He began listing them. No drama, no emotional manipulation, and no excessive independence that undermines his role in the relationship. It was a lot to take in and felt intense, but as I looked at him, all I could think was how much I wanted this to work. I smiled and agreed, even as my mind was already spinning with ways I could work around those roles. Relationships are about compromise, right? And Mitch is smart, successful, and, let's be real, absolutely gorgeous. Letting him go over a few ground rules would have been crazy. As we left the restaurant holding hands, I felt excited about our future. Sure, there might be challenges ahead, but I've always been good at getting what I want. And right now, what I want is Mitch. Hey, I'm Mitch. Let me tell you about Amanda. She's pretty great. But before I get into that, there's something you need to know about me. I wasn't always the guy I am now. A few years ago, I was what you'd call a blue pill type. You know the kind. Hopeless, romantic, overly accommodating, convinced that love and effort could fix anything. Back then, I believed in soulmates and happily ever afters. I thought if I loved someone hard enough, everything would work out. That was until I met Sarah. I was fresh out of college, and she seemed perfect. Beautiful, smart, funny. We fell hard and fast. Within a year, I was down on one knee, ring in hand, convinced I'd found my forever. Sarah said yes, and I felt on top of the world. I threw myself into wedding planning, wanting everything to be perfect for her. But just weeks before the big day, my world shattered. I discovered Sarah had been cheating. Not a one-time mistake, but a full-blown affair that had been going on for months. When I confronted her, hoping for an explanation or a way to fix things, she just looked at me with cold eyes and said, "I'm sorry, Mitch. I don't love you anymore." It felt like someone had ripped my heart out and stomped on it. For weeks, I was a wreck, barely eating, barely sleeping, dragging myself to work. I even tried to win her back, but then something shifted. The shock faded, replaced by anger, not just at Sarah, but at myself. How could I have been so blind, so naive? I started researching relationships, trying to understand what had gone wrong. That's when I came across the red pill philosophy. It was like a switch flipped in my mind. Ideas about boundaries, maintaining control, and understanding female nature all clicked into place. I realized that my eagerness to please and my willingness to sacrifice everything for love had made me weak. From that day on, I vowed never to let myself be that vulnerable again. I began working out, focusing on my career, and building my confidence. I learned to value myself, set firm boundaries, and take charge of my relationships. Which brings me to Amanda. She's amazing, really. But this time, I'm going in with my eyes wide open. When she asked to be exclusive, I laid out my terms. She agreed easily, maybe too easily. Part of me wonders if she really understands what she's committing to, but that's okay. I'm not the same guy I was with Sarah. If Amanda tries to push those boundaries or play games, she'll find out quickly that I'm not someone who can be controlled. I like her, but I love myself more, and that makes all the difference. Hi again, it's Amanda. Oh my gosh, I have so much to tell you about Mitch and me. Since becoming exclusive, things have been incredible. Like a dream come true. First of all, the dates. Mitch has been taking me to the most amazing places, the kind of restaurants I never thought I'd get to visit. Just last week, we went to this rooftop spot with a stunning view of the city. I felt like a movie star in my little black dress, sipping champagne as the sun set. And the food? Don't even get me started. I couldn't even pronounce half the items on the menu, but Mitch ordered for both of us, like a total pro. The food was incredible, so fancy and sophisticated. But honestly, that wasn't even the best part. Mitch surprised me with an international trip. Can you believe it? We spent a week in Paris. Paris, the city I've dreamed of visiting for years. It was even more enchanting than I imagined. We visited the Eiffel Tower, wandered through the Louvre, where I pretended to understand the art, and enjoyed the most romantic dinners in charming little cafes by the Seine. It felt like a real-life fairy tale. Just when I thought it couldn't possibly get better, Mitch booked us a luxury Caribbean cruise. 7 days sailing to breathtaking islands with crystal clear waters and powdery white sand beaches. My days were spent lounging by the pool, sipping cocktails and soaking up the sun. Evenings were filled with elegant dinners, casino games, and incredible shows. I felt like a celebrity living the high life. I mean, Mitch must be crazy about me to go to all this trouble, right? At first, I worried about those boundaries he laid out, but now I'm starting to think he's not as rigid as he pretends to be. The way he's been treating me like royalty, it feels like I've got him wrapped around my little finger. The thing is, though, I'm starting to feel a little restless. Don't get me wrong, Mitch is amazing, but I miss the thrill of the early dating phase. You know, the butterflies you get when you're just starting to see someone, the excitement of waiting for them to call. Lately, I've been wondering, could I have both? The security and luxury that Mitch offers, plus the excitement of something new? I know it sounds a bit wild, but hear me out. I, I, I've started testing the waters, seeing how far I can push Mitch's limits. At a party last weekend, I might have had a few too many drinks and dabbled in some party favors. Nothing serious, just something to liven things up. Mitch wasn't thrilled, but he didn't make a big deal out of it either. That's boosted my confidence. I think I can slowly start bending his rules without him catching on. He's invested so much in this relationship that there's no way he'd walk away over a few small indiscretions, right? I've got a plan. I'll start pushing his boundaries, little by little. Maybe I'll flirt with a cute guy at a bar, or, accidentally, send a text to an ex. Just small things to keep the spark alive for me. If Mitch gets upset, I'll just turn on the tears or remind him of all the amazing memories we've shared. He'll come around, I'm sure of it. I know this might sound manipulative, but isn't that how relationships work? A little give and take? Right now, I want to take a bit more freedom while keeping all the perks of being with Mitch. It's the perfect balance, and I'm determined to make it work. After all, I usually get what I want, and this time won't be any different. Hey, Mitch here again. I need to tell you what's been going on with Amanda lately. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, and not the fun kind. Remember those boundaries I said at the start of our relationship? Well, it seems Amanda thought they were more like suggestions. The first big warning sign came at a party last weekend. It was one of those fancy rooftop events, glitzy, glamorous, the whole deal. At first, everything seemed fine. Amanda was laughing, dancing, and clearly enjoying herself. But then I spotted her in a corner with a group I didn't recognize. They were trying and failing to discreetly pass something around. Amanda caught me watching and just smirked like she was daring me to say something. I didn't make a scene. That's not my style. But once we were alone, I didn't hold back. Amanda, I said, keeping my tone calm but firm, what you did back there is not okay. We've talked about this. I don't do drugs, and I don't date women who do. She brushed it off, calling it harmless fun, but I wasn't buying it. I reminded her of the boundaries we'd agreed on, the standards I expect in this relationship. This isn't negotiable, I told her. It stops now, or we're done. She looked caught off guard, like she wasn't used to someone standing their ground with her, but I meant every word. That was her one and only warning. You'd think that would have been the end of it, right? Wrong. Just a few days later, we were at this beautiful Italian restaurant downtown. The food was incredible, the atmosphere perfect. But Amanda seemed distracted. I caught her glancing at some guy at the bar, not just once, but multiple times. These weren't casual glances either. She was practically flirting with her eyes. At first, I tried to ignore it, telling myself I might be overreacting. But then she excused herself to go to the bathroom and ended up at the bar instead. I watched as she struck up a conversation with the guy, laughing way too loudly at his jokes and even touching his arm. That was it. I had enough. I got up, walked straight over to where they were standing, and said, "Amanda, we're leaving now." She turned to me, looking surprised, like she hadn't expected me to call her out. "Oh, Mitch," she said, trying to play it off. "I was just being friendly. This is Mark. He was telling me about—" I cut her off before she could finish. "I don't care what he was telling you. We're done here." I didn't raise my voice or cause a scene. I simply stood there, calm and composed, waiting for her to make her choice. After a moment of hesitation, she said goodbye to Mark and followed me out of the restaurant. Once we were outside, I turned to her and said, "Amanda, I thought I made myself clear before. I won't tolerate disrespect in this relationship. What you just did in there, that's disrespect." She tried to downplay it, offering excuses, but I wasn't interested. I looked her directly in the eye and said, "This isn't working. We're done." The look on her face, it was like she couldn't believe what was happening. I think she genuinely thought she could push me around, that I'd tolerate anything she threw my way. But that's not who I am anymore. I called her a cab and stayed until it arrived. As she got in, still looking stunned, I said, "Take care of yourself, Amanda. I hope you figure things out." And that was it. I walked away without looking back. A part of me feels disappointed. I really believed Amanda and I could have had something great, but a bigger part of me feels proud that I stood firm, that I didn't let myself be disrespected or manipulated. This is the new me, a man who values self-respect above all else, who isn't afraid to walk away when boundaries are crossed. It might mean being alone sometimes, but I'd rather be on my own and true to myself than in a relationship where I'm not valued.
So, here I am, single again. But I'm not upset. If anything, this experience has shown me how much I've grown and how far I've come. Whatever happens next, I know I'm ready for it. At the end of the day, the most important relationship you have is the one with yourself. And mine has never been stronger. Hey, it's Amanda again. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but Mitch broke up with me. Just like that. 1 minute we were on top of the world, and the next it all came crashing down. And then it all came crashing down. Now, briefly sit. I know what you're thinking. How did this happen? Well, buckle up, because it's been a wild ride. Eh, after that night at the party, you know, the one where I indulged in a little recreational fun, I thought everything was fine. Sure, Mitch gave me a serious lecture, but I figured he'd move past it. I mean, come on. It was just harmless fun, right? But then came that dinner. I'll admit, I was feeling a little playful. There was this ridiculously attractive guy at the bar, and I thought, why not have some fun and make Mitch just a tiny bit jealous? So I flirted a little. Nothing serious. A few laughs. I thought, I felt. Next thing I know, Mitch is standing there, his face like stone. "We're leaving," he said. Before I could fully process what was happening, we were outside, and he was breaking up with me. Right there on the sidewalk. Talk about humiliating. At first, I was in shock. Who does he think he is? Breaking up with me. Me. I'm Amanda, for crying out loud. Guys don't break up with me. I break up with them. But as the days went by and Meech didn't call or text, reality started to sink in. He was serious. This wasn't some ploy or game. He'd really walked away. That's when the panic set in. I started blowing up his phone, calling, texting, leaving voicemails. I apologized, promised I'd change, even showed up at his place with flowers and his favorite takeout. But Mitch was like a brick wall, completely unmoved. "Amanda," he said, his voice calm but firm. "I meant what I said. We're done. You can live your life however you want, but I choose to live by my values and surround myself with people who respect my boundaries." I tried everything, crying, pleading, even seducing him. Let me tell you, that always works. But not this time. Nothing got through to him. The worst part, he wasn't even angry. He was just indifferent, like I didn't matter anymore. That hurt more than any. I didn't matter every day. He was just indifferent, like I didn't even try. His. Now I'm sitting here, nursing my bruised pride, with a pint of ice cream and a sappy rom-com, wondering where it all went wrong. I'm not used to being the one left behind. I'm the one in control, the one calling the shots. But Mitch, he saw right through me, all my little tricks and games. They didn't work on him. He had his boundaries, and the second I crossed them, he was done. No second chances, no wiggle room. I hate to admit it, but I think I underestimated him. I thought he was just another guy I could wrap around my finger. I assumed his boundaries were just for show, that he'd bend them for me if I pushed hard enough. Boy, was I wrong. And now here I am, single and honestly a little lost. I keep replaying everything in my head, wondering if there was something I could have done differently. But deep down, I know the truth. Mitch was different. He knew what he wanted, and, more importantly, what he didn't want. And in the end, I just didn't measure up. It's a bitter pill to swallow, let me tell you. But maybe, just maybe, there's a lesson here about respect, boundaries, and being genuine. I'm not sure yet. All I know is, for the first time in a long time, I feel humbled. So, here I am, single again. But you know what? Maybe this is a wake-up call. Maybe it's time for me to do some serious soul-searching, figure out what I really want in a relationship. Because if there are more guys like Mitch out there, Mitch who won't put up with games or manipulation, then maybe I need to rethink my approach. Or maybe I just need to find someone a little more flexible. Yeah, that sounds better. This was just a one-off, right? Right.